علمي من الرحمن ذي الآلاء بالله حزت الفضل لا بدهائي كيف الوصول إلى مدارج شكره نثني عليه وليس حول ثنائي.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our dear viewers, welcome once again to the Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam, a program in which we review the masterpiece of the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam, Islami Usul Ki philosophy. That is the philosophy of the teachings of Islam. Today, in the studios, I have Sheikh Zaki Ahmed Tamzadeh. Sheikh Sahib, may you remind us what the distinction is between the spiritual morals and the physical or the natural morals?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam is a book you should have at home. Be you a Muslim or you are not a Muslim, you have to get it. If you really want to know what Islam teaches, then this is the masterpiece you should have at home. You should have a hard copy and also a soft copy on your gadgets. To your question, the moral, as we explained in the previous episode, the stages of man, as the first question put forward by the judge or the initiator of the conference of religions, was to explain the difference or to explain the teachings of various religions about the physical, moral, and spiritual state of man. And the promised Messiah alayhi salam told us that there is a difference between those three stages, although the actions are the same. In the first stage, man acts naturally. It's just like all other creatures, just like all other animals. But when man directs his actions with reason and understanding, then man starts to act according to time. At the man, maybe he speaks or eats or sleeps at the right time and in the right place. Not that if you are feeling sleep and you're on the road, just sleep, just the way animals did. So the distinction is that you direct your actions with reason and understanding. And then after that, he told us that man is still weak at this stage. And he's just like a child that is starting to walk, to move. Sometimes he sleeps, sometimes he falls down, but still gets up. So at the third stage, that is nafs mutma'inna. He calls it that, he says that this stage, the spiritual state, flows from the spring of nafs mutma'inna, when that is a soul at rest. It has gone through the two stages, and now it's a soul at rest, where man directs all his actions with whatever God told him to do. So that is the spiritual state of man.
Thank you, Sheikh Sahib. Sheikh Sahib, before I continue, we've seen the three states of man.
Yes, please.
And earlier on, we also saw three states of soul. That's the soul that incites to evil, the reproving soul, and we also saw the soul at rest. We've seen that we have the natural, moral, and spiritual state. Sheikh Sahib, The promised Messiah alayhi salatu
Alayhi
wasalam,
salatu wassalam.
also talked of the reforming humilities.
Yes.
What are they
Yes,
and what
yes,
do they
yes.
mean?
Gradual progress is very important. It's inevitable. Actually, in everything. If you just look at the system of the world, you will know that rain does not start abruptly. But there is those nimbus clouds that gather. And then you see the climate changing and rain falls. That's a gradual process. Man does not give birth today and tomorrow you are old. But there is a system of life. The promised Messiah will also talk about this when we go further in the book. But the Reformation, first of all, the first stage is that the way the promised Messiah alayhi salam explains it, that senseless savages should be taught elementary social values. Man is an animal, yes, as like other animals. As they eat, we also eat, but you do that just like the way the savages do. That's like the way animals do. We've been explaining this every time and again. And the promised Messiah really wants us to understand it. That is why sometimes he repeats the explanation for you to create the difference, strike the difference between these three. When man is in that savage state, God desires to take him to another state of being a social human being. Now he's being taught social rules, social values. If you are eating, how should you eat? Where should you eat? When should you eat?
And what should you eat?
And of course, what you shouldn't eat. Then after that, the promised Messiah says that when a man has adopted elementary human ways, he may be taught higher moral qualities. Now you are in line, you can do everything with reason and understanding. Now you have to put in more value to your actions. That is what the promised Messiah is referring to as the higher moral values, higher moral qualities. You should make them brighter. You know, gold is gold. Everybody knows that gold is gold. But you cannot admire gold from the mine. It has to be processed before it picks up the value it has as gold. So this is what the promised Messiah alayhi salam is explaining to us. That if you work more on your moral, on the values, on those social values, you can still reach the highest moral qualities, the highest moral standards that God desires you to be. And then after achieving that, after reforming your morals, the promised Messiah says that those who have acquired higher moral qualities should be given a state of that drought of love of God. The second stage is just like a stumbling child. Now there is a value where you direct all your actions towards God, where man tests the union of God. And when you combine the two, your actions done with reason, and then you direct them with the rules, with the commandments from the on high, with the commandments from the divine, then that is a spiritual state. And that is the reformation that God desires to bring into mankind.
Sheikh Sahib, before the coming of Islam, people, Arabs, that's the Arabs, they took everything, and they were taking everything just for granted. Women were killed, young children were killed, and now the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam, termed that as barbarism. Sheikh Sahib, tell us, how did the promised Messiah, and talk about the coming of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, at the time when the Arabs were to the extent that the next thing was killing your fellow children.
The promised Messiah alayhi salam taught us in the book we are discussing, the philosophy of the teachings of Islam, that indeed the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came at the time of need. As you've said, the Arabs, we were talking before this that the prophets came before the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And at that time, because man was living in his tribe, one won't know what's happening behind the one mountain. There was no means of crossing those big and great oceans. So man all lived in his own environment. And then prophets were sent to them accordingly, reforming the vices that were into them. One might come and teach his people the evil of, even nowadays is very common, of Sodom and Gomorrah, very well about that. One will come and teach people how to weigh and be just while doing business. One will come and teach people how to shun from idolatry. But when time came that man started to travel and mix up, so the evils of one tribe will copy the evils of the other tribe, and then they became like the same people. There, you needed someone to come and reform people from all those kind of vices. Now take an example of the Arabs. The Holy Prophet ﷺ was sent at a time that Arabs had exceeded all limits. And actually they were not only Arabs, but it was a center. Arabia at that time was a center of trade. People would walk, they would come from other countries, they themselves will travel to other places. You will find the black people in Arabia, you find people from other places. The Jews were also there in Arabia. So it was a center. And that is where the Holy Prophet ﷺ was sent. Their behavior, you can't actually explain them now. But the promised Messiah ﷺ made that have a feeling of that in his book, The Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam. He said that they took pride in every kind of sin and misconduct. And this is true. The Arabs had pride in writing poetry. And they were, up to now, they are very good poets. So what happened at that time was that they had their competitions of those who used to write the best poetry at that time, Jahiliyyah. And the best poet at that time, his poetry was hanged on the Kaaba. And your poetry to be hanged on the Kaaba, you were a great man at that time. So they called them Sabu al-Mu'allaqat. Right time we have Sabu al-Mu'allaqat. They are still in existence. That they have 7 al-Mu'allaqat that were hanged on the Kaaba. And this will tell you how sinful these people were. That the best poet, Umra al-Qais, is the best poet. But he explained the way he was doing evils. The way he drank and met someone's wife and used that way. This is the way he's explaining. And this is hanged. That's the best you will find. This is what he said, that they found pride. If you could have as many ladies as you could, and you are able to explain your actions with those ladies in eloquent Arabic language to please others, then that is a pride, and your poetry will be hanged on the Kaaba. If such a tribe was having brave people, they used to call them brave, but animals, who could wage war on others and steal their property, kill their honorable men, and then take their wives and their virgins in captivity. And that man, or one man from that tribe, describes that into writing, then that's a great thing. That's the pride they had. They used to drink alcohol, was just like water. You know, marrying many wives was a source of pride. Even they had no system in marriage. They could marry anyone. After the death of one's father, it was not a shame for one to marry the mother. And now, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is the very right time that he had to come. First of all, to teach these people, to take them from that animal-like life. Marriage is a system, but how do you marry? And whom do you marry? That was not there. How many wives will you have? Will you have 120? Will you have 1,000? You know? So the system of marriage itself has to be there. Are you just going to grab somebody's daughter and you run away in some room and you'll be there? That's marriage. Man is way better than an animal. So there is a system of marriage. So if you are still in the other ways of conducting your life, that you can marry, not even marriage, but you can use any lady, or a lady can adopt any man that he wants without even marriage, then you know where you fall. Just like animals do. They don't have that system. But if a system is put in place, as the Holy Prophet ﷺ came to do it, that a man and a woman should agree, and that should be announced publicly, then the system is there. Then man is different from the animal life. So the Holy Prophet came at the right time, when man was going to be taught. Actually, the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, says that this was the time that called for the 3 types of reform that we have just mentioned. The promised Messiah has just mentioned them previously. He said the purpose of the Holy Quran was to elevate savages into men. That was the very first one. That people who were drinking, people who were marrying even their mothers, even their in-laws, people who were even killing their female infants. It happened. And even one of the companions came and told the Holy Prophet that once I did this, you know, they used to conceive the female infants as a bad omen. So the Holy Quran even describes that one will think that, should I bury him? Should I bury it? Should I bury her? Or I should stay with her with that disgrace. So those were savages, although human beings, but their actions will send them back to that barbarism that the promised Messiah alayhi salam was saying. Then after that, the second kind of reform is that to equip them with moral qualities. after adopting those animal, after adopting the human ways, you should have the moral qualities. And then after that, finally, raise them to the level of godly person.
Spiritual qualities.
Spiritually.
This book is interesting. I think I should also read it again. Sheikh Sahib has just explained to us how, why was there the need of the coming of the Prophet, the whole Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he has also mentioned the three means or the three reforms that were mentioned in the book Islami Usulki Philosophy. That is the philosophy of the teachings of Islam by the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. Sheikh Sahib, after you telling us the three reforms that the Holy Quran makes, how important are they?
The importance of these three reforms is the importance of gradual progress. As I told you, the person you've, as I have described these, the Arabs, you could not just come at once and tell them that, look, become pious and become godly. And that will happen in just a couple of minutes, or days, or months, or even 1 year. It had to take time. The promised Messiah, alayhi salam, says that first of all, these people who were found as savages, they needed to be taught. Even they needed to get reason as to why they should adopt the human or the social values. Otherwise, you cannot get to the spiritual stage without understanding this. It is one step taken consciously after another that will make you reach there. So when one has those values of life, values of the society, then he is capable of adopting the higher moral qualities. Otherwise, you can't. And when you are able and lucky enough to adopt those higher qualities that are taught by the Holy Quran, then you will be able to direct your actions with the commands of the divine, and you will adopt or you will acquire the spiritual state. That is the purpose of the three reforms that the Holy Quran puts. Otherwise, you cannot do away with them. You have to go, you have to follow that system. And that is the right way. And that's why the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam found those people, as it is mentioned in the Holy Quran, that يَأْكُلُونَ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ الْأَنْعَامُ, that they ate just like animals did. But what happened? At the end, he says, Ashabi kan nujum. My companions are just like stars, glittering stars. Whomsoever you want to follow, follow. You will be guided. The promised Messiah, alayhi salam, in one of his poems also described this, this situation beautifully. He says that, سَوَادَفْتَهُمْ قَوْمٌ كَرَوْثٍ ذِلَّةً, that you met them in such a bad condition that they were like a piece or a dung, cow dung. That is how filth they were. سَوَادَفْتَهُمْ قَوْمٌ كَرَوْثٍ ذِلَّةً, that was the nation. وَجَعَلْتَهُمْ كَصَبِيكَةِ الْأَقْيَانِ, and then you made them so pure, like a piece of silver. But this did not come once. You know, the Holy Quran was revealed in a span of over 23 years, of about 23 years. Making them understand that you should first of all realize that God is there. Then at that time you should start praying. Then at some time you should now fast. Now the rules of nikah, marriage, also came in at some stage. Then at another stage you were now compelled to move from your houses. Now it is time to defend yourselves. All this came one stage after the other. But all this, the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, says that the whole purpose of the Quran is the 3 reforms. And all its teachings are directed towards that end. Everything you read in the whole Quran are directed towards that end, those 3 reforms. All other directions are a means of achieving those reforms. So if you read the whole Quran and analyze it critically, you will see that God seeks to reform mankind, but with those 3 reforms, and one step after another.
Our dear viewers, it has been an interesting episode, and I remain Kadeku Mumin Qasim, with me Sheikh Zaki Ahmed. Thanks a lot for your time and for your even time for preparing what you are going to give to us. We meet in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
علمي من الرحمن ذي الآلاء بالله حزت الفضل لا بدهائي كيف الوصول إلى مدارج شكره نثني عليه وليس حول ثنائي